Our planet is the dirtiest it has ever been. Entire countries are going underwater. People cannot breathe the air around them. Tax breaks are going to companies spilling petroleum into the ocean, but environmental groups are receiving none. We are going to lose New York City, Miami, Shanghai, and many more to rising sea levels. Smokestacks fill the air constantly, releasing toxic gases into the atmosphere that come from land degradation mining projects, displacing people and animal species. Over 1 million species face extinction by 2030. Climate change might be irreversible. The plants and animals thriving millions of years ago are being burned to create the smog-ridden, desert-forming, coral reef-killing world we live in today. The New York City climate change clock ticks, and once it hits zero, Armageddon will begin. Because of the great release of carbon and other greenhouse gases, the Earth is slowly warming, like a pot on a stove, and we are coming close to the theoretical boiling point. The thought and execution of energy have been around since the beginning of man, but in a variety of forms. Humans were able to harness energy in many different ways, such as making fires to cook food or creating mirror systems to spread light indoors. But the ability to have such mass amounts of efficient energy did not come until the Industrial Revolution. Although we had the power to control energy forms, it did not dominate the globe until the discovery of oil in Pennsylvania in 1859 by Colonel Drake. This set the stage for a new economy, driven by fossil fuels, coal, and oil. This spurred the Industrial Revolution and situated the problem we have today. Critics argue that this created the downward spiral of what is currently happening when looking at the health of the planet. When humans found a way to transform oil and coal into dense energy and products efficiently, life on Earth changed forever. Oil and coal were kings, and still are in many places, and have dominated the energy market and propelled countries into the modern world. Countries like the United States, Great Britain, and other developed states use these fossil fuels to make things, move around, and bring generations of people out of poverty, at the expense of future generations. In such a globalized world, the amount of energy needed to be produced increased drastically, causing emissions to skyrocket. Places like China and India are just now realizing their global potential and are spewing gases into the atmosphere and destroying the Earth with their non-renewable energy practices. The biggest issue with these detrimental fossil fuels is that we cannot escape them. They are addicting. Coal, oil, and natural gas are so energy dense and so cheap that once we started to rely on them, we couldn't stop. By the time we discovered how dangerous their effects were, it was already too late. The world has been swallowed into a mine shaft and is stuck in the oil tar. Oil is in everything we make and use every day. Almost everything you eat, wear, and touch can be traced back to oil and is manufactured using electricity from fossil fuels. Car tires, shampoos, fishing lures, antifreeze, guitar strings, and the very screen you are watching this on all rely on the repulsive fossil fuels we tear out of the earth. While it may seem we have reached the point of no return, we still have a chance to slow the effects of global warming. We can do this by making a switch to renewable energy sources and leaving fossil fuels behind. Renewable energy is generated from natural sources like the sun, oceans, rivers, and winds. These sources are highly sustainable because they never run out and naturally replenish themselves quickly. They are also much cleaner than their non-renewable counterparts, as they do not release toxic greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Although this seems like a fairly recent trend, renewable forms of energy have been around forever. Almost all energy sources before industrialization were green forms of energy, whether it was damming up a river to turn a water wheel or harnessing wind with a windmill to grind grain. It has always been around. However, it became much less popular when cheap, accessible, energy-dense fossil fuels took over. There are numerous types of renewable energy sources that can be used instead of fossil fuels. One of these is solar energy. Solar energy uses energy from the sun to create electrical charges that make electricity flow. Solar energy is fairly common today. Many houses and businesses have solar panels on their roofs. Solar energy is renewable and environmentally friendly. There is enough solar energy in Arizona alone to power the entire United States. However, there is no infrastructure to harness or transport the energy effectively. Another renewable resource on the rise is wind energy. Wind energy harnesses the kinetic energy of the wind through turbines. The turbines spin a generator, which creates electricity. In the United States, wind energy is used for 10.2% of the nation's electricity. The main barrier preventing wind energy from being used more is that it is expensive to build and maintain. Another potential problem is that wind can be unreliable, as location and the windiness of an area drastically affects the efficiency of a turbine. Lastly, one of the most effective renewable sources of energy, when applicable, is geothermal energy. Geothermal energy is the thermal energy that radiates from the Earth's crust. Geothermal energy production starts by drilling wells at locations known as geothermal reservoirs that connect to a turbine. Steam from the ground then turns the turbine and produces electricity. Geothermal energy is used in the United States, mostly in western states, but it only accounts for 0.4% of the nation's energy. Geothermal energy is not used more in the United States because it is location specific. Only areas that are tectonically active can be used to harness the power of geothermal energy. One example that illustrates the success of geothermal energy is Iceland. Over 85% of houses in Iceland are powered by geothermal energy. 5 major geothermal power plants in Iceland are responsible for producing this electricity. Many other countries have also had successful renewable energy operations. Morocco is home to the world's largest solar farm. Norway generates 98% of its electricity from renewables, and Scotland has increased its renewable energy use by 60% in the past 10 years. All of these countries are great examples of what the future of renewable energy will look like. Many countries have plans in action right now for a more sustainable future, including the United States. Denmark has even a plan to use 100% renewable energy by 2030. We have presented the problem and have provided a potential solution. But what can you do to help? We would like to leave you with a sliver of hope, but the fact of the matter is we are running out of time. Governments around the world are coming together to plead for change, but not much is being accomplished. The entities with the biggest carbon footprints are not people or consumers, but huge multinational corporations. We are not the problem, but the greedy CEOs who refuse to change the green energy of the world are. In this darkness, there are some glimmers of hope. Activists around the world have been coming together to create new technologies, innovative ways of stopping climate change, and bringing awareness to the multitude of issues surrounding energy creation. Maybe, just maybe, these efforts can tip the scale and reverse the effects these fossil fuels have created. We want to thank you for listening to our digital essay on the history of energy. We hope that you learned something new and will apply that knowledge to use power more efficiently in your daily life.